Welcome to class PM. The previous class we have studied about the family phylum of Porifera. Now let us continue the next phylum of the kingdom Animalia, that is phylum Coelenterata. This includes sea anemones, jellyfish, hydra and corals. They are actually aquatic, both freshwater and aquatic. See, you might have seen most of them have eager to know what are the organisms which are present underwater, right? So these actually, these group of organisms which are present, they are usually present either in fresh waters or marine water. As I've told you, marine water is nothing but the salt water, that is seas and oceans, right? So usually they include sea anemones. The ones who have habit of watching National Geographic channel, you can see they show different animals in different terrestrial habitats or different adaptations in like oceans and seas and on land and everything. So if you might have seen this National Geographical channel, you might have seen different types of jellyfish, corals and hydra, sea anemones. There are beautiful animals which are present even underwater, which we may not see, right? So this group of animals like sea anemones, jellyfish, hydra and corals, all of these fall under the phylum Coelenterata, and as I've told you, they are aquatic. They could be either freshwater or marine water. And you see hydra is a freshwater animal. These animals are usually multicellular. I think you all know what is a multicellular organism, right? Multicellular means which possess many cells in the body. Though they are multicellular, the level of organization is only up to the tissue level. That means the growth of the cells is only seen up to the tissue level, where further the tissues are not like categorized into organs, or they did not develop into organs or organ systems like in case of humans and other animals, right? So the level of organization is confined only to the tissues. There are no organs nor organ systems. The body, as I've told you, the symmetry helps to understand, or will when you cut an organism into two halves, it will divide into equal parts, right? So in case of this, it possesses a radial symmetry. Body has a single opening. So all the animals of this family phylum, they have only one single opening, that is mouth. And anus is always absent. You know what is anus? Anus is a part through which the waste is thrown out. Now you all might be wondering, if there is only one mouth to put in the food, from where is the food being ejected out, right? The mouth which is present, it serves as a passage for taking food and throwing the feces. You know what feces are? Feces is nothing but the undigested food. So the body is supported. See, we know that every organism has to survive in their own habitat, right? And if they have to survive, they have to overcome many difficulties. They have to fight for the food, they have to fight for existence, they have to run away from the predators, right? In the same way, to protect themselves, their body is supported by a horny skeleton. We all have skeleton in our body, right? But these animals have horny skeleton, exoskeleton, okay, you know, horns, right? They have a horny skeleton which is made up of lime. You know, usually as these are aquatic organisms, there is a high percentage of salt present in water, in marine habitats. So the salts are deposited on the body in the form of a skeleton. The skeleton is made up of only salts which are present in the water. So that is the reason they form a hard, tough skeleton over the surface, so that this horny skeleton, horny is always like thorns, right? So it keeps poking. When a predator comes to eat this animal, it keeps poking into their mouth. It is kind of pokey. So that's the reason they have a horny skeleton, so that they can protect themselves from the predators. And we know that every organism has to reproduce. So the mode of reproduction in case of these animals is usually asexual. That means they reproduce in asexual means. Hydra reproduces by budding. You know what budding is. If you remember in class 8 and 7, we have studied vegetative reproduction in case of yeast, right? Where the mother cell will bulge out into a small bud, and this bud will detach from the mother cell and will develop into a new baby yeast, right? New cell, baby cell, right? Daughter cell. So this is how the budding takes place in case of yeast. In the same way, the process of budding is also seen in case of Hydra. Process of budding is also seen in case of Hydra. And you know, these organisms possess a special a special kind of structures which will help them to move from one place to other place. You all know that every organism has to go in search of food. So as they don't have arms and legs, they don't have legs like us to walk, right? So they use these finger-like projections, which are like huge projections like this, and these finger-like projections are said to be tentacles. What are they called? Tentacles. And these tentacles will help them to move from one place to the other place in search of food, So this is about the phylum Coelenterata. Now let us learn about the next phylum, that is Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes. In Greek language, platys means flat, helminths means worms. We all know, generally when we have small kids at home, they generally eat lot of chocolates. They keep eating lot of chocolates and your mama keeps shouting, please stop eating too many chocolates, that will produce worms in your tummy. And usually small children keep complaining about stomach ache. That is because eating excess of sugary fruits will produce pinworms in their stomach, right? So these pinworms will start causing disturbance in the stomach, due to which the child may feel uneasy, right? So this platys means flat and helminths means worms, and usually in case of this phylum Platyhelminthes, this is actually a worm family. That means there are only worms which are added into this family, flat worms. Okay, they are flat, and this includes bilateral symmetrical flat worms. That means the body is bilaterally symmetrical. That means when you cut the body into two parts, two equal halves of the body can be seen. Okay, and animal body is very soft. It is just like leaf. It is leaf like, and there are few worms which are even ribbon shaped, which are even, you know, satin ribbon, right? How does a satin ribbon looks like? When you cut a satin ribbon, it is a flat ribbon, right? It neither has a head nor a tail. It doesn't have even sharp pointed ends also. So the worms belonging to this family look similar. Either they look like a leaf or they look like a ribbon shape. They are flattened without segments. They don't have any segments. If you see an earthworm, you see that the earthworm has segments on the body. You can see small lines which are present throughout the body of the earthworm, right? That are said to be segments. But whereas in case of these worms belonging to Platyhelminthes, you don't find any segments, and they are flat worms. They are flat. That means they don't have any proper shape. And most of them are parasites. You know what parasite is? Yes, I'll tell you. Parasites are those organisms which derive the food from the other living organism. That means they cannot synthesize their food. They are little lazy. They don't want to prepare their food. So what do? Is they search for a nice healthy host. They get into the body of the host. Either they live in the body or on the body of the host, and they try to derive the nutrients from the food which is being eaten by the host. Say like, I'll give you an example of leech. Okay, leech is not part of this phylum, but I'm still giving you an example so that you can understand. Leech is, we all know leech, right? Leech suck bloods. Leeches suck blood. So how do they suck blood? They are actually called as parasites because they live on the body of humans, or sometimes this cattle, when they are taken to wash into the rivers, you see they catch hold of the skin of these cattle like buffaloes or cows, and they try to suck the blood through the skin, right? So that means from the blood of these cows and buffaloes and sheep and everything, they get energy, they get nutrients. They are not able to prepare their food. Instead, they take the nutrients from other animals or other organisms. So such organisms which derive food from other organisms either by living inside their body or on the body are said to be parasites. And the organism which is providing the food to these parasites is said to be a host. So that means now you might have understood what parasites do. And now you might have a question like, how do they suck? How do they take the food? Yes, they have specialized structures called suckers or hooks. Okay, and these suckers or hooks which are present, they help them to cling to the body of an organism. Okay, and then they derive the food or nutritional requirement which is needed for the growth of these worms. There is no body cavity. inside the body there is no body cavity, and you see that this indigestible remains which are present, they are thrown out of the mouth. They don't have any specific opening called as anus, just like coelentrates. Okay, they don't have any openings like anus. They only have one opening through which they throw the waste out of the body. And the excretory system which is present, it includes a specialized cells called as flame cells. What are they called? They are called as flame cells. So these flame cells, you see when you take a worm, you see there are minute pores. Okay, these flame cells will open into small tube-like structures, and these tube-like structures will open into minute pores on the body, which will throw the waste out of the body on regular basis. So as soon as they take the food from the host, they digest it and they throw it through these specialized structures called flame cells, and usually these are hermaphrodites. What do you mean by hermaphrodites? They are bisexual. That means they have both male and female worms in the same animal or in the same worm, male and female sex organs in the same worm. That means they don't have separate sexes. They are not unisexual like other animals. They are hermaphrodites. That means they are bisexual, where they have both male and female sex organs in the same worm. Example, planaria, tapeworm and liver fluke. See, this tapeworm is actually called as Taenia solium, and this Taenia solium is it can invade a human body. That means it can take human body as a host, and it can grow several meters in our intestine. It will coil the intestine and it will take the food which is taken up by us. So it has no need to prepare the food, right? It can directly take the food from the intestine, and they actually enter as a small worm into the body of a human, and they grow into several meters, which will actually cause a big problem, severe illness in the body. So this Taenia solium, they can usually grow in the body, and you can see liver fluke, planaria, all these worms, and you can see pinworms which grow in your stomach when you eat a lot of sweets and chocolates. So this is about phylum Platyhelminthes. We'll continue with the next phylum, that is phylum Nematoda. Let us continue with the next phylum, Nematoda. This Nematoda includes a cylindrical, flattened, bilaterally symmetrical and unsegmented animals. You know what is cylindrical structure, right? Either they are cylindrical or they are flat animals which will possess a bilateral symmetry. That means when you cut the animal into two parts, it will be divided into two equal halves, and they have unsegmented. They are unsegmented. What do you mean by unsegmented? They don't have any segments present on the body. The size of the body varies from microscopic to several centimeters in the length. Okay, they can be a small microscopic organism. The organism may be microscopic, and sometimes after getting the required nutrition, they grow into several centimeters in length, and the body wall is always covered with a tough cuticle. They possess pseudocoelom. Pseudocoelom means the cavity which is present between the digestive tract and the body cavity is not true. So pseudo means false. That means they have a false body cavity which is present. They possess mouth as well as anus. That means these organisms, they have mouth as well as anus. They don't have only one single opening, unlike the other phyla. The sexes are separate. They are not hermaphrodites. They are not hermaphrodites like Platyhelminthes. They have separate sexes. Example, Ascaris and Vircheraria branchofti. Vircheraria is a worm which is the cause for filaria. See, most of the Indians we see, generally in common English we call it as elephant leg, where one of the leg will grow as big as a size of elephant's leg. Right? This elephant leg is caused because of a worm which called as Vircheraria branchofti. Okay, this Vircheraria which is present, it will enter into the body and it will infect the leg, so that the size of the leg grows to a size of elephant's leg. So this is about your phylum Nematoda. Then let us go with the next type of phylum, that is Annelida. Annelida includes the organisms which have annulus, which have rings, segmented body, which have segmented worms. So this Annelida includes organisms which are segmented worms. That means they have segments throughout their body, which can be seen in the moist soil or fresh water or in the